Greetings one and all, and welcome to the Antagonist Archives. Over the many years within the entertainment industry, antagonists have come and gone, with stories and motivations ranging from simple to complex. Now these two different types have their own charms that can resonate with us, the audience, as they can either make us relate to the antagonists on some form of human level, or just make us think even more deeper on a level that we have never considered before. But they can also impress us with just their appearance and actions alone. RPGs, or role-playing games, are the perfect example of this concept, as each one, even though they deal with different worlds, cultures, ideals, and more importantly, the antagonist's resolve, they can still have villains leave an impression on people, with varied views on one single game, or even a series. But the games themselves can also leave a distinct feeling of their own, as if you can associate a certain phrase or feeling you get towards the game in question. Now, when thinking of complex stories, many would bring up games like the Tales of series and Final Fantasy. But when considering simple, Dragon Quest is literally the first thing any RPG fan will point to, as Dragon Quest is one of those games that plays it safe and gives people a straightforward role-playing experience. Now I for one can't speak for the whole series, because I only ever played one game, and that was Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King on the PS2. Remembering full well what series I was dealing with, I decided when playing this game I would keep an open and neutral mind, like I always had done. A lot of people kinda keep this game close to their hearts, but I for one didn't say anything special about it. The music was bland to at least okay. The graphics were not bad, even though many designs of the characters were recycled from Akira Toriyama's past works. The battle system was simple, but it was a grind fest for both experience and money to buy only one piece of armor. And the story, well, let's just say it's what you expect from the Dragon Quest series. But just because a story is simple, doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it, for simple can still be interesting, if done correctly. So keeping this in mind, join me as I revisit a villain from this very game, who carries the series' main theme, along with an oddly familiar appearance, and look beneath the villainous intent of Dhoulmagus. Within the 8th Dragon Quest in the series, we are introduced to Dhoulmagus via a flashback. Wow, this is a first. Not that I'm complaining or anything, since this is a particularly good scene, but isn't having a flashback of an antagonist we've not personally met yet equal to having a flashback about breakfast before we know what we're going to have? Also, his face is covered in every shot. Ooh, mysterious. It all begins when he steals a powerful scepter from the castle of Troidain, turning King Trode into a toad and Princess Medea into a horse, and soon afterwards goes out of control with power, overrunning the entire castle with many thorns, and turning all its inhabitants into plant-based statues, leaving only the king, princess, and the nameless hero that you have to name yourself, the sole survivors of the curse that was placed on the castle, prompting the great chase after him. And upon leaving with the scepter, he goes on a killing spree, first starting with his teacher, Rylus, who was given the privilege and honor of the fabled off-screen death. And here I was thinking I stopped watching soap operas that played this card a lot. He continues this by killing off more certain individuals, taking the lives of a young nobleman, Alistair, and the Abbot Francisco of Myella Abbey. This in turn doesn't quite sit well with a noblewoman, Jessica, and a Templar of the Abbey called Angelo, and join up with the protagonist's party to chase after him for vengeance. Oh, and he also kills a casino owner named Golding. Clever naming convention there. Also, did I mention it is killed off screen? Now, this isn't a bad idea on his part per se, but to be honest, he isn't making many friends doing this. I mean, let's look at it this way. He kills his intended targets, but yet leaves everyone else alive. Now you're just asking for someone to come kill you out of anger for killing their family member or loved one. And wouldn't you know it, he heads to the Dark Ruins to rest and heal himself, which is on an island with a cloud of darkness over it. Wow, subtle. He could do just as well if he had a big arrow with neon lights blinking with the words, "Come and kill me, assholes." And surprise, surprise, the heroes who are thirsting for his blood kill him at the halfway point of this game. And you want to know something? This villain, who antagonizes the heroes for most of the time in this game, isn't even the true final antagonist.
Get out of town.
Say what? By Zeus's scrotum, no!
That's right, he isn't. For once Jessica takes the scepter in her hands, the night afterwards she heads off to kill another person, which fails, and ultimately, after she regains control of her body, she tells the heroes that Dhoulmagus and her were controlled by the scepter. This is as shocking as the time I shoved a cow prod to my face. And was shocked! So, the true antagonist is actually the scepter itself. I always knew that evil wooden sticks were planning something diabolical. Nah, I'm only pulling your leg. It's actually the Lord of Darkness, Rapfawn, who is sealed inside the scepter. Basically, whoever takes a hold of the scepter possesses them, and uses their body to enact his plan to kill all 7 of the bloodline descendants of the sages that sealed his soul in the Godbird scepter, so then he could break the seal. But soon after realizing and forgetting completely where it disappeared to, the heroes are too late, as the next descendant is killed, and the staff is being held by Sir Leopold, the dog. That's right, Rapfawn is that desperate that even dogs that would randomly grab sticks are not exempt from his possession. But after the other 2 are killed, the last almost ending in failure, with the heroes putting a stop to him. But hey, at least he scared the Lord High Priest to death in the end, by doing absolutely nothing. And the less said about that plot convenience, the better. And also he gains another person to possess. It's just too freaking bad that this Marcello, who's a complete douche, ends up becoming awesome by resisting control. Okay, before we go any further, let's get this straight. Rapfawn, the one who controls darkness, can only possess people who takes the scepter in their hands. That's stupid and it sucks. Most antagonists who can take control of their intended targets can actually succeed by doing it from a distance, and yet this Rapfawn is the first that requires someone to touch the dang stick. I mean, think about it. There is one big gaping obvious flaw in how he luckily and on the spot has each situation played out. And so, can you imagine what would happen if one small thing went wrong? Aha! Finally, the scepter is within my reach, so that I can make all those snobby nobles pay for making a fool of me, even though I look like one. Anyway, I shall now savor this moment. Yes! That's it! Take this infernal Godbird scepter in your hands, so that we can finally undo this curse of my imprisonment by the sages, and bring about my deeds of darkness! Ooh, ice cream man! Ah, goddammit, get back here! This wasn't part of the plan! This is the 5th time this has happened, and the 20th time no one took me for ice cream! Oh, good God, I'm so lonely. Right, moving on. After a situation where Marcello was beaten by the heroes, he becomes fully possessed, and throws the scepter into a statue, where Rapfawn's body is sealed, to bring both his soul and body back together, to once again threaten the world. That is, if you think a baby who looks like he could steal candy from you, with a light bulb for a butt, is anyway threatening, but still, he proclaims his plans to take over the world of light, and unify it with the world of darkness for him to rule, blah blah blah. And is then immediately defeated. Not the brightest idea he had throughout this whole game. But somehow, even after being destroyed, he turns into honey, I guess. And then transforms into...
At last, my soul has the almighty flesh and blood it deserves.
He looks like fat bastard if he was painted with purple jello while wearing a fake beard. Where were we? Oh, right. After using the original Sage's powers to take down his shield of darkness, he is then destroyed. There are definitely some familiar story plot elements these antagonists follow that many avid action-adventure RPG gamers will immediately recognize. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but in this game, the way their plot is structured doesn't help them. It makes their tale very uninteresting, and I just can't place my finger why exactly. It's simple and easy to follow, but I can't help but feel that something is missing to make these bad guys memorable in their roles. You can tell the characters were meant to act as a way to instill the audience with a classic adventurous feel, but at best, the only feeling you will get from these two is a sense of tedious, monotonous boredom, with no big payoff to go along with large amounts of gathering items to act as filler, making their story not worth the long trek.
Meddling pests, how much more of my time will you waste?
You all may think that as a duo their abilities would be a massive list on its own, but it's not. Though they do share the same repertoire of powerful fire and ice spells, and a weird suspicious looking stare that can make you fall asleep. Must be a boring rape face then. As Dhoulmagus' abilities consists of being able to create annoying doppelgangers of himself, who have half the health he has, but can still pack quite a punch with the same powers, even though they waste many turns by laughing! I would like to know what's so freaking funny when I am the one literally whipping him a new orifice with my spear! Though, one of his most powerful techniques is to make glowing blue tentacles come out of his staff. Ew! Put it away, you dirty jester! Also, he can cast an unlimited amount of thorns towards whoever and whatever he targets. Dhoulmagus, Maleficent called, she wants her powers back. Throughout the game's cutscenes, he shows some other abilities too, like floating, telekinesis, Ganondorf teleporting disorder, and stabbing people with the scepter, further proving my theory that sticks are the true ultimate weapons of godly epic proportions. And lastly, he can Freezer! I never expected to see a good antagonist in this game. Ah, this must be a mirror. Oh wait, it's just Dhoulmagus wearing a Freezer costume with wings which has feathers that can murder you. Next, Rapthorn's first form, which can brighten up a room with a flash attack. And then in his final fat bastard Jello form, he can perform a chant to bring forth meteors to fall from the sky. He also holds a very potent technique where he releases all his magic power at once to damage everyone. But unlike most final bosses in RPGs, he can recover his own magic power by reciting a prayer, which makes his magic endless compared to most antagonists. Great! Something cool but yet annoying at the same time if you're hoping he will waste it all. Finally, by meditating, he can heal himself for 500 points of damage. Believe me, that is a lot in this game. What's that I hear you say? Where is dark-based spells? He has none! Seriously, the only time he even mentions darkness is in the storyline with things like his shield of darkness. But other than that, he holds no other dark-based magics that could have made him original, and could have given him an otherworldly feel, since he is from the world of darkness. But they do not take advantage of this opportunity to be creative. Instead, just play it safe with the same old spells that anyone in the world can learn. Even with so many spells at their disposal, there is just nothing to differentiate them from the people of light. As powerful as they may be, there is nothing but the numbers to go by. Since we are dealing with two different villains, let's start with Dhoulmagus, who goes through all the trouble of knocking out all of 2 guards to get his hand on a powerful scepter, just for the sole reason of gaining ultimate magic power. For what reason exactly?
With this, nothing can stop me from becoming the greatest magician of all time. Then, I'll have my revenge on those scornful snobs who made a fool of me.
No offense, man, but you're dressed for the part. And we find this little piece of information in a flashback, and after that it's never brought up again. Not even the nobles who made fun of him are found anywhere. I know it's probably not important, but this is his only driving force for starting all this mess, and it hinges on this too. But they never explore it much to give Dhoulmagus real character. Maybe seeing the scene of where he was being mocked could have helped somewhat, but other than that I don't see any other way they could have improved this aspect of this particular character. And Rapthorn's motivation? What motivation? Well, that is if we count the fact that he was unsatisfied being just the ruler of darkness, and decided to take over the world of light too. In other words, he was either bored, or he was wanting to overcompensate for something.
Nudge, nudge, snap, snap, grin, grin, wink, wink, say no more.
The problem with these two is that we are never given enough to connect with either one of them. We may get the time of the entire game, but they don't really give the audience much to relate to, or even sympathize with. As far as we can be concerned, both of these guys are just playing the generic bad guys that are causing havoc, just because one felt belittled for being counterproductive to his goals, while the other is just a generic evil boss of darkness, with little to no motivation whatsoever. Seriously, considering their motivation, even together, they both cannot even make up the weight to keep us interested, till the final moments of the end credits. Okay, we had uninteresting story. Check. Bland motivation. Double check on both of them. So it's only natural to at least see if the voice talent of the PS2 era can at least be a saving grace to this game. Now, on a side note, there was no voice acting in the original Japanese version of this game, so we only have the pleasure of the English voice actors. Starting with Dhoulmagus, who sounds bland and boring, and...
Feisty! You surprise me! I never imagined you could squirm for so long!
Yeah. His voice cannot be taken seriously. Rapthorn in less threatening form.
I am the Lord of Darkness, Rapthorn. My resurrection to flesh has been a long and painful journey.
Sounds too forced and is painful in both delivery and on your patience to not mute the dang TV. And finally...
But first, you will taste the true might of my flesh and blood. You shall taste the terror eternal. Even death shall offer you no respite.
He sounds like Batman if he drank a lifetime supply of pure liquefied cocaine through his nose! Also, their designs do not leave any impression whatsoever, making me wonder if Akira Toriyama's flair for drawing interesting villains decided to take a holiday without him. But let's be glad at least they couldn't make them any worse, right?
Such a pity. Such a pity. Such a pity. Such a pity.
They gave him a catchphrase. They gave an evil entity of darkness A freaking catchphrase! Why would they do that? This is literally the one thing you never do, for the simple reason that it is not clever or intimidating in any way. There is a very good reason why only the good guys should have catchphrases. For when you try it on a villain, you suck out any form of threat, urgency, and most of all, lose any respect that you may hold for them as a Lord of freaking Darkness! This, along with the rest of the points I made, make these two forgettable characters, and gives us no reason to find them in any way noteworthy to speak of. Jeez, it's a wonder why they were never invited to Itadaki Street. This duo that acts as one brings us nothing new that we haven't seen before. Though I can't fault them for having a simple motivation, nor for how they were implemented into the story, but they are just poorly executed and underwhelming for the entire game as a whole, and the interesting and original emotional invoking havoc they caused are just too few and far between. Dhoulmagus, as the person who started this whole rap fawn situation, is a mere imitation of an already popular antagonist in design, with no redeeming qualities to make him any way original or interesting. And Rapthorn, despite having what may be considered a great plan to threaten the world on paper, just comes off as being as a copy of another villain who wants to be ruler of both light and dark worlds as one, feels one-dimensional when put into practice. But hey, at least they carry the simplicity of the Dragon Quest series, without being too overly complex, and having anything remotely remarkable for us, the audience, to at least admire. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if you are a person who wants someone or something to motivate you to get through the grindfest, then you're not gonna find it here, as this duo will just make you suddenly think, that paint drying on my wall can't dry by itself now, can it? But if any of you out there wants a simple villain that can at least be interesting, then just go and play Legend of Legaia 2 Dual Saga on the PS2. At least you will get more entertainment from there than you would from these sad excuses of poorly underwhelming written villains. I am Devar, and this archive has come to a close. Finally!
What? What kind of trickery is this?
I'm dead sexy. Look at my sexy body.
Tune in next time on the Antagonist Archives, where we shall explore the depths of a guardian's dark heart that charges the world's innocence with a cruel death sentence.